Good afternoon. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our program today of What Black Pittsburgh Needs to Know. I am Dr. Cheryl Hall-Russell, joined by my colleagues, as usual, Jasiri X, who is the CEO and co-founder of One Hood Media, and Dr. Jamil Bey, who is with the UrbanKind Institute, a growing Black think tank that's doing some pretty amazing work in the city of Pittsburgh. We are dedicating today's show to Romir Talley and his family. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the murder of this young man. This story that is still so opaque right now that we still don't have a lot of information on. Their lawsuits that have been put into place, but we still are talking about a hurting family who has gone through a lot of trauma and distress. We initially thought we were going to have his mom, Tasha, come on, but I think just emotionally, this day has become a lot for her. And so she won't be able to join us today, but we just want to let you know that our hearts are with the family, and not just our hearts, our voices, our advocacy is with the Talley family until this case is resolved. So we're still going to be talking about this and talking a little bit more about him and some new things that have happened since we talked last. So, gentlemen, what has happened in the last week since we were together?
Well, I think, when you talk about hearts going out to folks, I definitely want to also send our condolences to, Rashad, Sister Marjorie, their family over the loss of their grandson, Jafar. That was definitely, something that really shook our community up, particularly the work that Rashad and his family have put in for many years against, gun violence, period. Rashad has been putting in that work for, 30 years. He was there in the 90s when, gangs kind of, the gang violence was rising in Pittsburgh. And he's always been somebody that has been a voice against violence in our community. And so to have, to lose their grandson in that way was definitely devastating. The community came together on Friday and did a memorial for him, but just definitely want to ask everybody to keep their family in our prayers. And, our hearts go out to him and his entire family, and whatever we could do. It just shows that we got work to do. 2020 has been just such a devastating year on so many levels. But it's just a lot of work that we can do. And just because you do this work doesn't mean that you're immune to something happen. And so, we're definitely, praying for justice for him and his family, and want to keep them in our prayers.
It's, we talk about this as advocates and we bring these things on, and, we just get really reminded of the work, because it gets really close to home and hits people that we care about. And it's, we care about everybody dying. So let's be clear about that, which is why we do the work. But sometimes it crystallizes and you got the advocates and the workers who are now being hit so personally. And this is what, like you said, this is what Rashad has been about, is this kind of prevention. And it, this is worst case scenario, I'm sure, for their family. So, and so many families, it's getting pretty unreal.
And that's the thing, in all the work and the challenges that we have as a community, as a country, it really works against us that this country, the way we celebrate violence and promote guns and the gun culture, and how, that's just become a part of the American identity. And that's one thing, even in the hood, all other service, you have access to guns. And, when it plays out this way, in the way that we celebrate that sort of violence, it's inevitable. And so that's why the other work that we do has to be, contextualized. We need to find ways for young people to thrive and families to thrive, and to make sure that people have opportunities and see themselves and can, have a vision of their own grandchildren.
Yeah.
That's something to look forward to. And that's just it. That's a part of what we're, this is a piece of it.
And I literally have had those conversations about folks saying, you know, I'm not going to get past 23 or 24 anyway, so what does it matter? And it's kind of an out of body, and they're dead serious about it. And I'm like, what are we doing? And I mean, I think about this with COVID, how we have now normalized the fact that over 300,000 people are dead in America in less than a year. And we're like, you know, had to lose a few in order for us to protect our freedoms. We normalize some crazy ass stuff in order to be able to deal with it. And those, you know, those folks, there are no hospitals for anti-COVID believers. You know, folks, I mean, I wish there were sometimes. That y'all don't believe this, y'all go over here and leave these ICU beds open for those who know this is serious. But that's, you know, that's not how it works. We, you know.
Right. And when you see a virus that has this potential, that's this deadly, and with the approach, you know, that we see now internally that the outgoing administration took, you know, where they thought that the herd immunity strategy made the most sense. Well, if you look at, you know, a society, look at something like measles. Measles has been around for thousands of years. It's still deadly, you know, but we've reached herd immunity over thousands of years, and, you know, through some inoculations. But up until the 80s, you know, even in the United States, measles, you got measles, you were in trouble. And so, but vaccinations have helped to squash that. So what we've done with the coronavirus is that idea of, no, let's keep the economy open. Let's keep people in contact. Let's spread the disease. When we see it mutating like it's done in the UK, you know, mutations are a part of any virus. That happens, but we're spreading it so fast that we're seeing these things happen at a much quicker rate. And so the danger, before we even understand what it is challenging and threatening the ability to respond, on top of just an oafish response, you know, and we've talked about that a few times, from the outgoing administration. Just mishandle this, put the entire world's economy, the world's people in danger. And so now here we are now, you know, with a couple of vaccines, you know, 2 that have been approved, another one on the way, but that still takes time.
Still takes time, and we probably summer before they actually trickle down to the regular public.
I think it also shows too, like how vulnerable, and you know, maybe one day we'll get into this conversation about capitalism, but just how vulnerable all these businesses and you know, of course, individually. I mean, and you know, you're talking about giving folks $600 after you've given folks $1,200 for how many, you know, multiple months is ridiculous. But you have all of these. I mean, I was reading that the whole transportation, you know, industry is in danger of collapse. And just like, you know, we think about it in terms of like, oh, just work and go get money, but just having to go in, you have, you know, whole industries that couldn't withstand 6 months of not, you know, people not spending their money with them, and they all might go away. And it just shows how fragile, you know, so just kind of like what you said, sometimes it's like, oh, I just go to work. Many people, if you get laid off, you're one paycheck away. They say 1 or 2 paychecks away from poverty.
We always try to poor people not put up enough money to be able to make it. You should have ABC in the bank. You should, if you're smart about it, spend your money. We are constantly dragging poor people for not being able to stretch stuff. But when it got down to it, folks with the money were in much better shape, because that's how capitalism works. And so, you know, I don't want anybody struggling. But you're right, 6 months in, everybody's like, we're going down. This is, you know, what do you know that you want to share some of the details? Are you familiar enough with this new package, Jasiri?
Not, I mean, you know, not all of the details. But you know, I just saw somebody put like it was $500 million to Israel in there. It was billions of dollars to like the Air Force and the military industrial complex, billions, you know. And so like I just saw some of the things that certain individuals were kind of pulling out to basically say, like, you know, it seems like, you know, it was this 3 martini deduction that these corporations got, corporate folks, for like their own meals. And so it once again was, millionaires, multi-millionaires really prioritizing themselves and their friends above just regular working class people who are now, facing eviction, going into this holiday season with very little. And now you're talking about a $600 check. I mean, it's particularly when you talk about we're supposedly the greatest country on earth, supposedly the wealthiest country on earth. How come we're unable to take care of our folks the way that some of these other folks or countries have been able to do it from there?
Yeah, Dr. Bey, anything you want to add to that? I'm going to bring in our guest, Fawn Montgomery. She can be a part of this conversation too, as we're talking COVID, we're talking our interesting relationship with the police in this region. So can you guys bring Fawn in if she's still out in the green room waiting? If not, we can keep talking until she's there. I think she's slowly coming in, and she materialized.
Is it just me, or is Dr. Hall-Russell's audio garbled? Is it just me?
Yeah, no, you're garbled for me too, Dr. Russell. Okay. So
I may go out and come back in.
Yeah, so, your connection is a little bit unstable. So if we can maybe.
I had to switch to my phone yesterday because I think something's happening in my building. But I'm gonna take it down, and you guys keep talking. All
right, we'll kick it with Fawn until you get back.
Yeah, and I know, Fawn. First, I want to thank you for joining us. I saw you, kind of yawning. And it made me think about the work that you've been done. I'm sure, you've been going. I mean, you always go full force. I mean, we just had a conversation. I mean, you're always somebody that puts in so much work and so selflessly, but especially with what's going on in McKeesport. Mm-hmm. You've been going into overdrive in terms of being an organization that folks can come to in the midst of what's happening. So if you can just give us a little bit of backstory about what happened in McKeesport a few days ago, how that affected the community, specifically the Black community, and where we are now.
Yes. So, well, thank you all so much for having me. And Jasiri, thank you for acknowledging that and making space about what is going on in McKeesport. There is a lot going on in McKeesport. So on Sunday, I got a call around 5:30 and somebody said, I heard there was a shooting in McKeesport, an officer was shot. I didn't hear anything about it yet. So I got on the phone and made some calls and, it was true. So I immediately made like a social media post because people were saying that traffic, like it was backed up traffic. So I just figured that, they're probably, because apparently they said this suspect had ran away. I said, probably looking for the suspect. That's why there's traffic. I just thought it was just basic, traffic due to that. So, but I said, let me ride around and check on people. So I started to ride around, and the amount of police I seen, I had a straight panic attack. I looked around and there were sheriffs, there was SWAT, there was Pittsburgh police, there was Rankin, it was Swissville, it was Homestead. It was every damn police force you could think of in this county was like surrounding me. And I'm like, what the hell? I seen these cops walking in the street with guns, like shotguns around their waist. They got flashlights. They're looking in abandoned buildings. They're looking everywhere. So this happened in the area we call downtown McKeesport. And just for everybody who doesn't know, I am born and raised in the city of McKeesport. And I'm a former councilwoman. I was on council for 8 years. So that's my hood. That's my community, literally. So they were centered downtown McKeesport. And then by downtown is one of our housing projects. We have 2. So I rode to Harrison, the village, just to make sure that they was all right. There was an ambulance like in the middle. So I get out, like seeing they gonna move. They didn't move. They didn't budge. It just stayed in the middle. So I had to back up to get out. Nobody was really out. I seen 2 people and I told them what happened. I need to go home. So then I rode up to Crawford Village, and then I seen it. That's our second housing projects. I seen like 5 different cop cars. So there was people out, and I told them to go home. And like at that moment, and I still am, I was terrified. I was terrified for Black people in the city of McKeesport, basically for non-white people. I said, first of all, they're going to try to kill Mr. Francis, the alleged suspect at the time. And they're going to kill any Black man that looks like him. So I came home and I did a live immediately. And I was telling Black people in McKeesport to go home. Do not come out. They are out there. I had at this time no idea that they were pulling people over. So as I'm doing a live, I'm getting texts. Fawn, get down here. They're pulling people over. They're looking through cars. They're searching people. They're pulling people out of cars. They're going to people's houses. So I did a couple lives that night. The initial one was just to tell Black people to stay safe, let them know what was going on in our community. Like, there's police everywhere, you all. The paranoia that I had and the trauma, worried about my community, worried about Black people over here. It was so overwhelming. But I had to go. So I did that live and then I left. And then I just drove around, making sure people were safe. I got calls, the houses that they were running in seemed to be his family or anybody that knew him. So even if you hung out with him once, they was rolling up in your house. And there were no warrants. Some people asked for warrants and they said, you don't have a choice. They would push through the door. And y'all, there were kids on the other side. These are children. And they're pushing them out the way. There's guns. The people's houses I went to, these kids were crying. I mean, I went from house to house and everybody was just bawling their eyes out. They were terrified. They thought that they were going to kill them because they came in there. It wasn't like the first thing you open the door, you see is guns. And it was McKeesport police with whatever cop was available at that time. And like, there was SWAT sometimes going to these people's houses. And the one guy said he was pulled out of the car with guns pointing at him. And then let him go like, oh, well, he ain't in here, my bad. Go on about your business. One lady said, they came in her house talking about, oh, we got the wrong house, my bad. Now, mind you, they literally done put guns at her at this point. So the trauma's already done. And it is so violent the way they do, non-white people when it comes to police. It's the fact that, first of all, the relationship with police due to the history of police is violent. But then you have a situation where we know our rights are being violated, right? This is wrong. We know you're not allowed to run up in our house. You're not allowed to search us. But if we say something, we could die. So you have to, at that point, decide whether or not you want to say something or be quiet, because literally, you can get murdered. So it's just a very violent place to be in. So from what I'm hearing from the streets and from the newspaper, there was a PFA put out against Mr. Francis, and the police went to arrest him. I don't know how many cops were there, but they went to arrest him. They did. And they said this was somebody, like I said, I wasn't there. And there's so many facts that are just not really together, that they said over the scanner, he does not have a gun. He's okay. So, they put him in a car. They're reporting that he was aggressive in a car. He was, trying to kick out windows and whatnot. Then they handcuffed him. So he gets back to the station. And so the video has been since released. So you can see one cop getting out of the car and then him opening the door. And then so I guess the search they did on him, they didn't find his other gun that he had. And I don't know how he got his hands from the front to the back. And I want to be clear, I'm not blaming the officer because he did shoot the officer and that's not right. So that's not what I'm doing. Just saying that some things just definitely don't seem to be adding up as far as like the details before, during, after. So he shot and then he ran. So that's pretty much all we got so far. And he's still on the run. They're still looking for him. They're still terrorizing us, primarily his family. They are still rolling up in their house. At this point, his mom is getting death threats, and so are we. So they're calling our hotline as well, threatening us, calling us niggers, saying all lives matter, sending emails to us. So it's still ongoing. So it hasn't stopped. The level of it has decreased, like the amount of police, but they're still rolling up in people's houses unannounced, without warrants, without any warrant. This thing is still happening. So that Sunday was like martial law. It was scary as hell, y'all. I honestly thought that they were going to kill somebody. And that's why I did all those lives. And I was pissed off on those lives because I was like, look, what you're not going to do is come here into my community and just shoot any Black person you see, because that's what I thought. If I did not say that, because I mean I've went toe to toe with people in power in McKeesport. I've been one of the people in power in McKeesport a lot, and I'm like, look, you understand who you're dealing with. Do not kill my people, because honestly, I thought that's what was going to happen, because they were yelling, shoot to kill, shoot to kill. And if you know, if like I have a little cousin, my godson, who is like the same age and height as Mr. Francis. So what if they would have thought that was Kobe and shot him?
Yeah, I think you know, man, I mean, and like you said, I mean, you know, we're thankful that the officer survived. You know, the officer is going to get out of the hospital soon. You know, and it's definitely not,
Right.
you know, condoning any violence against anybody. However, you know, the violence towards an officer does not mean that does not give the police a license to just run roughshod over, you know, the Black people of McKeesport. And I think that's why, you know, that's one part of the reason we're talking about these conversations around
Right.
The alternatives to policing, because if that's if this is what it is when it comes to us, and you know, all of a sudden, you know, the constitutions or our rights get thrown out the window, like we don't have the right to not answer the door, we don't have the right to ask for a warrant. That's when it starts to get sketchy. Now, I know you were I guess what recourse, you know, because I saw somebody sent us a live where a young woman said the police ran up in her house because her name was similar to I guess his girlfriend's name. We saw, like, what recourse do people have that have experienced, you know, this, you know, guns drawn on them, police running up on them? What do they have any recourse, or what? How can we help them?
So what we've been doing is we've been giving out our hotline number, and that's 412-440-8268. People call, we kind of go out and talk to them about the situation, connect them with an attorney as well as a mental health therapist. So at this point, we've gotten 15 calls so far. What we're finding out is they're just not all in McKeesport. So this is some of East Pittsburgh, Port View. Now, Port View is right next to McKeesport and Munhall. So and Duquesne. So they were not just staying in McKeesport. They were stretching out, it seems like, to a lot of these Black communities in the Mon Valley. So far, we've gotten 15 calls. We have connected them with attorneys, and we've connected them with therapists. And then we have, you know, funds to be able to assist with some of the attorneys, as well as if property is damaged. I know one house I went to, this was his cousin, like they broke the baby's crib. They ripped the door off the dresser. So they're damaging property, and we all know that they ain't gonna fix it. So we have funds available to get some of those things fixed. So I would say the attorneys that are working with these people understand that, you know, this is going to be a fight, and we need you to fight. You know, if I could be flat out honest, like, we need you to fight. It was illegal. It was a flat out illegal search. So there is it was okay because, you know, there was an officer shot and they were on a manhunt. I don't care. One officer being shot does not make sure that all the McKeesport residents, we lose our Fourth Amendment rights.
Right.
That's not what that means. So we need an attorney willing to fight through that process, through that red tape, through the bullshit of, you know, oh, well, a cop got shot, so we thought they was in here because I seen you hanging out with Mr. Francis one time, or this is your cousin. Like, no, we need somebody that's going to be willing to fight for these people when they call them.
No, I agree, and you know, thank you. You know, definitely thank you for your advocacy. Was there something that you wanted to ask Dr. Bey?
I said I was just, as she's describing this, I mean, so this is like, you know, we live in occupied territories, and so when you hear about, you know, things that happen in Palestine, and, you know, the Israeli troops roll in, and you have no rights. You know, we're here because this is their space. And, you know, every Black person that knows it, you know, everybody in the Mon Valley knows everybody in the Mon Valley. And right. So therefore you're all guilty. You're all suspicious. And, you know, that trumps any thing that you think any rights or claims that you have to that Constitution. As a black person, a white cop was shot. Fuck you. And this is the occupation mentality. This is that dominate the streets. This goes back to, yes, the Pittsburgh police showed up, the Penn Hills police, the Clareton police. Well, like you said, they came to occupy and represent that dominate the streets model that Trump was talking about, that Peduto signed on to, that what's the clown's name, the district attorney? Zapala. You know, right. So you have to get through him to get your case. You're going to hear a case. You're going to convince him that you have a case, right? You need a lawyer with some chops.
Absolutely, yeah. We need somebody that's going to fight.
Right.
I mean, that night I was calling everybody I could. I was like, look, and nobody could get to me. Like nobody could get in the city. You know, I want to shout out my team. I Take Action, Liv, Soleil, Nikki, Nesby, the Mayor Duquesne. Like, but they was on the phone. You know, they're out in the street. So like nobody could get in here to me though. They wasn't letting nobody in the city, or nobody out of the city. I was calling every possible, look, call somebody to call these fools off. Somebody is going to get hurt. So, I mean, it did piss me off a little bit, some of the silence. Like what, I don't think people get, like, this is a crisis situation.
Yeah.
That like my hometown is in, literally. This is a crisis situation. We were under siege here Sunday night. And I kept telling people, speak up, post, say something, do live. I'm telling you, all of that stuff worked. They, you know, we showed up where they was at. I was following them around, and they left every time we showed up.
There are folks asking in the chat, would this have happened in the white community? And I don't think it's going to be too difficult to even find out. Because white folks do shoot at cops. You know, that's not uncommon. And find one of those incidents in the news, go to that town and just look at the social media. You're not going to see that they came and occupied a white town.
No.
And you said, I mean, it's going to be hard to find that incident in Mount Lebanon, but just Google cop shot, find out where, and just look at the social media posts. You're not going to see that kind of response.
Yeah, most police officers are shot by white people, and it does not trend. And that's how I'm on social media. I'm on Twitter, and I saw McKee. I'm like, why is McKeesport trending? And that's kind of how I saw. But we definitely we don't and we once again thank Take Action Mon Valley, but we did want to really talk about why this and thank you, Fawn, for really being behind really a week of remembrance of Romir Talley. Not only Take Action Mon Valley, but One Hood, Pittsburgh I Can't Breathe, Black Ops, APA, Trans Uniting, all of these different all of these different organizations came together for a week of remembrance of Romir. But we wanted to bring in Romir's cousin Marcus, because I think sometimes when we are in these situations, when we're talking about for us, Romir is a name. He's somebody that we believe was shot down unjustly, and we've known a little bit about him, but we wanted to have Marcus talk about Romir, the human being, Romir, the father, Romir, the cousin, Romir, the friend, on this day, this 1 year. And we want to first thank you, Marcus, for coming in on the 1 year anniversary. If you could unmute yourself, because we know it's hard for you. So we definitely want to send our condolences to you, but we just wanted to, offer you the space to really share, tell us about Romir, the human being, and what, we're deprived of now as a world because he's not able to be here with us today.
Okay. Thanks for having me. And this is a little harder than I thought, just even thinking about what to say about him, because he was a great man. One of the few people in the world that ever just genuinely checked up on me, made sure I was all right. Anything I had going on, he would come out and help me so I could do more. I don't know where to begin, honestly. Yeah, he just a good guy. He was all the way around a good guy.
You all grew up together?
Grew up together. His mother's my first cousin. Yeah, it's crazy because I didn't spend as much time with him until this last year of his life, after he lost his daughter himself. And then I extended my hand out to him if he ever needed me, and he is man enough to take me up on it, and we've been spending a lot of time since then. And then he was dramatically taken from me.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Go ahead. No, keep going, bro.
I just wanted to say I admired him because after having a tragic situation like that, he kept pushing forward and still was being a good person, always still positive, you know, and helping anybody he could, really. And still being a great father to his other son.
Powerful. Is there you know, like a story or maybe a trait about Romir that maybe folks wouldn't know that you feel comfortable sharing?
One is I guess he walked everywhere, and it's crazy because he ended up losing his life walking. Like, it didn't matter what time of the day, anything, he would walk. Just like the job site, we go to the job site because we worked on houses together. That's one of his things. He's getting really into real estate. And sometimes we got deadlines on the houses. And if his car wasn't working or something, he would walk like a half hour just to the job site, wake up 5 a.m, take off, walking to the job site just to make sure we're getting it done by the deadline. Not complaining, just, you know, put his headphones in and take his walk and just do. Yeah.
Wow. Well, did you Fawn or Dr. Bey, did you have any questions for Marcus?
Hey, brother, it said it's good to see you are not under these circumstances, but it said, not a specific question, and I said, the thing with what you're talking about, this is a regular brother, a good dude from the neighborhood, somebody's son, somebody's father, somebody's brother, somebody's cousin, and you know, he's out walking for a night, and he's guilty of what those. Well, we don't want to get into too much. It's just like this. It's all just cyclical. That he's guilty of walking through an occupied space, and therefore he's a threat. Yeah. And we don't know the circumstances, and we're not even worthy of the circumstances. We don't need to hear from them. That's how they see us.
Right.
It's frustrating.
Yes.
I just want to thank you for coming on, Marcus, and sharing some stories about Romir. You know, we'll continue to, you know, stand in a gap for you all. That's our duty. But I want to thank you for coming on, you know, to talk about Romir and share some stories. And, you know, I just appreciate you. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for letting me say a little bit about him. I want to say way more, but it's hard, really. It really is. You know, so much I want to say, but yeah.
Hey, but no, we appreciate it. Yeah, we'll let you go. But appreciate you taking that time on this day. We know this day is difficult for you. Please send love to the entire family from us, particularly Miss Tasha, and you know, just let your whole family, like we're a resource. I know, you know, Fawn's been working, our organization, One Hood, UrbanKind, all of us are a resource. And I know there's something, you know, later on tonight, folks, you know, I just appreciate everybody that stepped up, but we're here for you all whenever you need us. But so I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you all. Thank you. And thank you everybody for everything they do. It is very appreciated. And we try to stay strong, but it is hard. He was a good guy to us all. And it's a hard day today, but it's been 365 hard days, you know, and it's going to continue to be more. But we're trying to stay strong, keep pushing along, and just keep them alive. And, you know, thanks for having me, and thanks for everything everybody does.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I appreciate you. And just to update folks, Dr. Russell has some technical difficulties, and so she's in the chat. So we holding it down for you, Dr. Russell. And you know, we talked about it early in the show, but you know, Miss Talley, Romir's mom, wasn't, you know, emotionally able to come on today, and we respect that. And we just want to send her, please pray for her, send her love. We know today is very difficult. And so we just want to, you know, send her those hugs and send her that love from our community. Can you talk a little bit about the week of activities, Fawn? Because there was a car rally in Wilkinsburg. There was a toy giveaway. Can you talk a little bit about those, you know, that community engagement, and, you know, what was the response from the community of Wilkinsburg?
Yes. So And I did want to add something before I talk about the week of remembrance for Romir in regards to the McKeesport case with Mr. Francis. He was called due to a PFA, and I believe that was against a Black woman. So I just want to make space and acknowledge that nobody is, saying that was okay either, because it's not. I don't know the situation there at all, but I know that was a Black woman. So I wanted to make space and acknowledge that we're not saying that either.
Thank you.
So the week of remembrance for Romir is a lot of organizations. Jasiri named them earlier that were involved in that. Thank you so much to everybody that worked on that. So we really wanted to have a week where we focused on Romir and did some things, after talking to his family, that he would want us to do. So the first thing we did was we went to the Wilkinsburg Council meeting, and we've kind of been doing that this whole time. But we wanted to make it like an event out of it. So we had several people come. We had some residents speak. They actually let some of us speak at those meetings as well, where we kind of asked questions about or pushed our demands. And I'll talk about those, I guess, a little toward the end. So then after that, we did what we call like a car action. So we did it around the old mural site where, the officer got it taken down. So then we did it around the Wilkinsburg police station, and we had a really good turnout, for a cold, snowy day. So we decorated the cars with, Justice Romir. We rode around, and some of us kind of stood out with, megaphones. So that went really well. And then we did a toy giveaway on Saturday. So that is what Romir did. He liked to give back to his community. He was in Mad Dads. He was always helping people out. He was a dedicated father. So we wanted to do something that would really honor Romir. So we did a toy giveaway where all of these organizations that Jasiri named put a lot of work into it. There's cookies baked, which were wonderful, Kina, by the way. Hot chocolate, toys wrapped. Each of those toys were wrapped by all those people in those wonderful organizations that were named. And then we just gave them out. Really, people came, they showed up. We had a registration, but it wasn't required. It was just recommended. People showed up. The community response was amazing when it came to our toy giveaway. We had a line before we even started. And people were dropping off toys as it was going. People was just, bringing more toys and bringing more toys. So the Wilkinsburg community definitely responded to that. We thanked them for that. And then we had, flyers of Romir, and we were able to talk to people a little bit more about who Romir was. As a person, we had flyers of him and his kids. And then there was an artist that came and started doing a painting on site, which I thought that was dope. Literally just showed up and started doing a live painting on site. That was Max and his team. So it was really good. This family came, Dana came out, and we, gave her some toys for Romir's son. It was really good. And then yesterday, the attorney, Paul Jubis, the family attorney, was on One Hood Power, and he talked about the case. And then today, we're on here talking about Romir. And then later on today, there's a celebration of life at the Black House Collections, and that's at 6:00. And that's for his family. But it's going to be broadcast live on the Black Ops Facebook page.
Absolutely. And I did want to just shout out also Pittsburgh Feminists for Intersectionality. I don't think that was we didn't mention them, and they put in that work as well. So yes, shout out to them. So I know, just like you said, Paul, the lawyer, was on One Hood Power. Are there any updates on the case that, because as far as I know, we finally got the 7 months later.
7 months.
We got the officers, and that was really that was because of the work that a lot of these organizations and a lot of the folks on the ground of Wilkinsburg really going to these community meetings, demanding the information got released. The officer was still on the force 7 months later, which is to me absolutely nuts. But at this point in time, a year later, do we know anything else, like in regards to like what's the status of this officer? Mm-hmm. Is he going to be punished? What's going on?
So and I could start a little bit from the beginning. So initially when this happened, Amber Sloan, shout out to Amber, Liv Bennett were on the ground initially when this happened, and they did like a lot of footwork. And basically it sounded like it was mistaken identity. Just from them talking to people, going around talking to people. And then months later, that's still the case here. So initially they went out, they talked to people. We were told that the investigation was ongoing and, that we would get updates. And there was no updates given at all. It came to the 7th month point, you all. And the family had not gotten any information. When they did talk to county police, they would say, "Oh, we're still investigating." When they talked to Wilkinsburg, they would say, "Oh, it's with the county," and then the county sometimes would say it's with the DA. It was like a back and forth of nobody taking any accountability. It was the accountability pog, as I call it. No, he's supposed to do it. No, he's supposed to do it. No, she's supposed to do it. All that kind of shit. So when it came to the 7th month point, we were all highly frustrated. We had planned an action. They canceled it. So that's when we went to the mayor's house. So that literally, we were on a sidewalk. That literally, I think, was like the shift for us to get the name, I would say. And then when we got the name, come to find out that she released an email that was given like 2 days after the shooting. So they already had the name and never released it. So we got the name, as Officer Robert Gowings, we got the name. So then we moved on to let's get him fired, arrested, and charged. And typically, if this was a white person, this is how this would happen. If it was a cop, they would charge and arrest. And when you get charged with something, you cannot be a cop. Typically, it depends on your union contract, but typically you can't be an officer because you're charged with a crime. So then he will automatically be terminated. But since we Black and that's not the way the system works for us, we have to fight for every step. So we had to fight to get the name, and we're still fighting for him to be fired. So Wilkinsburg, and every system is different when it comes to Allegheny County. Pittsburgh is separate from Wilkinsburg. Wilkinsburg is separate from McKeesport and Forest Hill. So the way Wilkinsburg is designed, they have their own mayor, police department, and city council. It is the city council's job to be that civilian oversight. So they also have a Wilkinsburg Civil Service Commission. The mayor and the council can recommend he be terminated to the Wilkinsburg Civil Service Commission. The only thing that they have recommended is administrative desk duty. And that was after months, like you said, months of people being on the ground. Even before we went to the mayor's house, there was people doing a bunch of work before, to even lead up to that. Miss Rose, shout out to her. Miss Mona, they was doing a lot of work. Certain people, they was doing a lot of work to make sure that, the cop was held accountable. So we get to the point of the mayor finally saying administrative desk duty. Well, he appealed that. So now it's in the appeal process. So now he's trying to sue Wilkinsburg for putting him on administrative desk duty. But what the council or the mayor has not done is they have not recommended he be terminated to the Wilkinsburg Civil Service Commission. And when I brought this up at the last council meeting, the solicitor tried to say, well, we can't talk about it because it's lawsuit. Well, these are two different issues. I'm asking you why he has not been terminated. Because if I do something bad on my job, you do something bad on your job, you get terminated. Well, he shot and killed somebody. So he needs to be terminated, but he is not. He is still on administrative desk duty, which he is fighting that. So as I said to them, I used to be on council. So I know what you can and cannot do. I know that you can recommend he be terminated. And if you have to do a fight with the union, then damn it, do it. Do it. Because why would you want an officer who shot and killed somebody? And literally the nerve of this guy, he makes a call. And we know this because the owner of the building where the mural got tore down, not tore down, but taken down, told us that the past owner, that he got so many calls from the city. Come to find out that it was Robert Gowings, the officer that called to get the mural removed. Like, what the hell? You're trying to erase somebody's existence. So he gets the mural, taken away. So y'all still got this man on your payroll. You're not doing nothing about it. So that is why we have increased the pressure. And let me say this to Wilkinsburg, because I know y'all watching. We ain't going to stop increasing that pressure. We're going to keep going harder. We keep going harder until this family gets some justice. So he has not been fired. He has not been arrested or charged. The termination would have to come from Wilkinsburg Mayor, Wilkinsburg Council, as a recommendation to the Wilkinsburg Civil Service Commission. The DA, Zapala, would have to arrest and charge. The investigation is now with the DA's office, and all they keep telling us is they're still investigating. What the attorney, Paul Jubis, was able to find out, he got the 911 transcript. The 911 transcripts literally has the person that called 911 called them back and said, you're going after the wrong person. Because they seen them going after Romir, and they said, you're going after the wrong person. That's in the transcript. So let me just like say that again. In the transcript, it literally says that you're going after the wrong person. So we have yet to get the 911 tape. We have yet to get the police report. The DA won't release any of this, even though there is a transcript that says the person that called 911 called back to say you're going after the wrong person. So it really looks like a case of mistaken identity, and that they literally murdered the wrong person. And it seems like they're just trying to play that game of, no, this was your fault, no, this was your fault. And we're still waiting. Like there's no movement on the investigation. We would want a charge of criminal homicide when the DA would come down with it, but we haven't heard anything.
So I did want to just bring Dr. Russell in there, because she did ask a question. Why won't the mayor, and then I'll come to you, Dr. Bey, why won't the mayor make these moves? And just to say that, the mayor is a Black woman, someone that a lot of us, including myself and the community, celebrated when she was elected, celebrated having this young Black woman as the mayor. What's stopping her from, recommending that this officer be terminated? Do we know?
No. And I don't understand either, because like you said, I was one that celebrated her, when she did win. And she was one that spoke out when, Antoine Rose II was murdered. She was one that was up there with us. She was one that has made speeches. Her and the chief of police, Cookie Coleman, they have both made speeches saying that if this happened in our community, we would get rid of this officer. Well, what the hell are you doing now? Because this officer is still there, and any movement they make is literally off of the pressure that we give. So I don't know what the hell is going on with her. And that's my issue with, I would say, the Black elite in Pittsburgh, as I call them. If you have her ear, call her and ask her, why have you not terminated this man? Why is he still on your payroll? Why have you not been vocal about it? Like I said, I've been in elected office, and I know the separation of powers, but it's different when you care. Because when you care you're an elected position, it shows. Call the DA every day. Do a weekly update. Be transparent with people. Let people know what the hell is going on. I had to dig to find out that he decided to appeal the death duty. Like, say that. Just say that. Say, well, I tried to do this, I tried to do that. But it's been like mutes the word. And every time we bring something up, how we went to the sidewalk, she came out with a gun. So but that was telling, because half the police force was behind her. So I said, dang, look at the leadership, right? Let's look at the top, what's happening here. So I don't know what the hell is the non-movement, just not with her, but just with the county as a whole when it comes to Romir. I think a lot of it had to do with the narrative, which is, why we really wanted to have his family come on here, because they lied in the beginning. And they said, he shot at them, and like, where's the gun? Where's any of the evidence for all of this? So I don't know what's going on with the mayor.
So there's so many pieces, and I guess this is a part of what you're saying, that like this does not fit the script. So all right, when we've seen other cases, okay, you're on administrative duty until the investigation is concluded. What grounds do you have to appeal your administrative duty? Like how does this work, and how do we even consider that if the investigation is ongoing? Why is it has Zapala or somebody in the county decided that this was a justifiable homicide? If they've not declared that, then like what ground? This doesn't make any sense to me.
None at all. They haven't said a word every time the attorney calls. And this is why, the lawsuit was filed. Typically, the lawsuit is filed after, there's arrest and a charge of termination. But it was like, look, we have to do something here, because, we're not getting any answers. It's it's ridiculous. You know, you have this mother, like you have this family who had their loved one ripped away from them.
And I said, this is the point. And here's what I'm saying. What happened and what's been happening in the last week in McKeesport allows and makes what happened in Wilkinsburg. And so those police officers who are terrorizing that community for the last week, they're setting the tone. They're establishing and they're letting every Black person in McKeesport know, here is your relationship to us. Here is your relationship to white Allegheny County, the white Mon Valley. And let it be known, here's what we think of you and your rights and your right to exist, your right to be a father, a brother, your right to get your hustle on and fix up houses or do whatever you do.
Yep. That
does not matter. And so as we put that into context, okay, so then how does somebody walking out at night get murdered by a police officer? No evidence to support that he was aggressive or did anything to put himself in that situation. And yet then there's no action on this. So these things are not unrelated. And I appreciate you making that point about this is not about the brother. And I don't even, this is not about the brother who shot the cop in McKeesport. This is about our communities and the relationship and the tone. And that's how what's happening in McKeesport is going to make what's happening next in Beltsuver or in Homestead or wherever. Yeah, it's okay.
And I want to just for the record, because you had mentioned about both the mayor Marita Garrett and the chief of police of Wilkinsburg, Cookie Coleman, speaking out about Antoine Rose. And to me, it's telling that like you have all that energy when it's not your area, but then when it comes to the area where you actually have power and control. And this was something that Wilkinsburg Police Chief Cookie Coleman said in 2018 after Antoine was killed. She said, when you have an officer, this is her quote, this is from her mouth. When you have an officer who everyone is talking about, you need to look at that officer and get rid of him instead of keeping him and protecting him and calling it the thin blue line, because that's a joke. This is what she said out of her own mouth. And so now you have an officer on your force that everybody is talking about, because of what he did. An officer that by, the owner of this building's account, not only did he call to get the mural removed, but officer also charged the artist, who actually did the mural. I mean, you have this officer that folks that we're all talking about him. What sense does it make for you to keep this person on the force in the wake of this? And so, I would just ask her to live up to the words that she put out of her own mouth when it was somebody else's, when it happened in East Pittsburgh, and I would say the same thing to Mayor Garrett. At what point, it's 1 year later. I mean, regardless of how you feel, whether you personally like the family or not, or whether you personally like us or not, what I'm saying? You're talking about 1 year after a young Black man was killed and we don't have any answers. That should be looked at as the mayor and chief of police as unacceptable. Why, when Black people get killed, do you always ask to wait and wait and wait and wait? And here we have two Black women in a position of power that as a community, we expect you to understand the frustration that we've had for years. You should understand what we're dealing with, and then to not take a stance it's ridiculous. And so, I'm using this platform to say 1 year later, I mean, come on. Like if we can't have people that look like us and say they care about us and go through the same things we are, if you're not willing to fight this system that has continued to brutalize and oppress us, then go do something else. Go have a regular job. Go. I mean, that's not no disrespect.
Right.
Like to anybody that just has, if you're not willing to fight that, if you're not built for it, if you're afraid, this ain't the position for you.
Right.
Respectfully resign. Say, you know what? I thought it was for me. It wasn't for me. And I respect that. You know what I'm saying? But if you're going to be in this position and you got to fight for us, you got to stand up for us. If you're gonna support this system that has never cared about us, I mean, I could go on and on. I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
Dr. Bey got in me. The Dr. Bey spirit got in me. It's got to stop. You can't say these things when it's somebody else's borough. And then it comes in your own borough. Now you quiet. Now you silent. Now you in the house. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're not the threat. As activists, we're not the threat. We're not coming to do you no harm. All we want to see is justice for this family. All we want to see is something. We can't get the police report a year later. Y'all don't have the power to make some calls and release this information. If it is in the police favor, then release it.
Right. Say that.
Say it. Right. Show us. Yeah. Show us.
Right.
To think that we just gonna stand around for a year and not say anything, you wouldn't do that if it was your child. Put yourself in the shoes of the Talley family. And I remember talking to I've been able to meet some of these moms and families, and I remember talking to Tamir Rice's mom, Samaria. And she said, at least I have a video. She said, it's so many parents that don't even know what happened because they weren't there. There's no video. And so to me, you're telling me all we want, tell us what happened. Show us the evidence. Show us the information. We can't get that a year later. Then you have abdicated your power.
Exactly.
You ain't representing us. You don't speak for us. You're not helping us. If you can't at least come in and say, even if you say non-partially, I just want to make sure y'all had the evidence. So,
they said nothing.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So a year later, I'm just saying, we're calling on folks, stand up for us, man. And if you're not going to be willing to take to stand up for us, and to stand up for justice, regardless of what happened a year later, and we still don't know what's going on, and you still talking about you investigating, that's wrong.
Absolutely.
That's wrong.
And that too is a part of the curing. I'm thinking like the curing of the trauma of that a year later. If I had known one way or the other, after 60 days, my son did something stupid and I can see what happened. Or this dude murdered my, whatever. Okay, now I can heal. I can't heal. You've traumatized and brutalized the whole family. And friends, relatives, a whole year. Like, come on, what happened? What happened? A year. It's just marinating, and we're suffering and we're hurting. That trauma is real, and they keep
piling it on.
Something different, y'all.
I mean, they just keep piling it on, and the way you correlated the two with McKeesport, what's going on. I mean, it is true because we've been advocating for Mr. Francis to be brought in alive because we know that white suspects are brought in alive all the time, right? So we need that same justice, not justice, I would say, but we need that same grace for him to be brought in alive, and we need that same grace for the Talley family. Because if he was white, it wouldn't be a year later that we would have no answers. Literally, all we got is a name, you all. This is a mother. I mean, this woman has to go through a county that tried to erase her child. She would be sitting on the couch and see protests, and no one's saying Romir's name. So, I mean, shout out to this family. Real talk. They're the ones that kept pushing. They're the ones that, kept reaching out to us. So shout out to them just for having the courage and the bravery just to keep on pushing for for them to get some kind of answer. So just like you said, just like, we went to the house. Look, we are here to break down systems of oppression, no matter who the hell's running them. If you black, white, orange, or green, if you're not going to be, for us, and just get out the way, man. Get out of the way, and let somebody else do it. And I've been in that position. Like, I've been there. So don't tell me you can't, because I know you can, because I did it. So I know you can do it, man. It's a simple, if you care, you move different. It's just that simple.
So I chuckled when I saw one of my former McKeesport students' names in the chat as you were saying that, and I was thinking about justice and his brother Gino Williams, and we had a conversation. When I was teaching, and you have a right to free speech, and the school cannot make you say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I never said it my whole life, and I thank my parents for forbidding us for saying that shit. But the line, liberty and justice for all. So you won't hear me putting my hand on my chest and saying that aloud, looking at a damn red, white, and blue banner. And so when we had that call, there's a couple of these students here, names that I remember, some of those McKeesport's a lot of families, and they're still there. And I said, when liberty and justice for all, whose job is it to enforce that or to ensure that in Allegheny County? And who does that apply to? And are we included in all? When have we ever been included in that all? And so I don't know how you want to close it, Jasiri, since you're assuming the moderator role. But I said this is a heavy one, man, because it's just it's so tired that we're on here talking about this same kind of nonsense so frequently.
Right.
Yeah.
We need a new strategy, a new plan, man.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that absolutely. I mean, one, we want to close by just definitely asking folks to keep Romir's family in their prayers, and if you're able to reach out and just show them some love today, keep really all the families. I mean, you think about it, whether you're talking about Miss Michelle, Antoine's mom, because it's the holidays, when it was just 2.5 years on the 19th that we lost Antoine Rose, Mama Brown. We want to include her. I mean, because it's difficult for these families. If you lost someone to gun violence or lost someone to police violence around this time, it's very hard because it's the holidays and people are thinking about family and celebrating with family. And so we just want to put all these families in our hearts and our minds that have lost people to violence, that lost them young. So I would say that first of all, and I would say second of all, like you said, Dr. Bey, and also for you, Fawn, and the people of McKeesport, we definitely want to also be advocates for them as well. And whatever we can do to help the work that you all are doing to take action, Mon Valley, please let us know, Fawn. But we got to go into 2021. We're not going to have a show next week. We're going to take a week off. We'll come back to you at the beginning of the year, but we got to go. One thing that 2020 taught us, and I swear, Dr. Bey, from the first episode, you talked about us beginning to think about new ways that we approach these things, you know what I'm saying? And I thank you for, inspiring, the work that we've begun to do at One Hood. We got to think about, we have to reimagine public safety in our communities. We have to reimagine education in our communities. We have to reimagine, how public health. I mean, all of these systems are systems that are oppressive to us and they don't work. We're not going back to normal. We're not, okay, we got a vaccine, we can go back outside and everything is good. No, we got to reapproach the media. I mean, we have, the Post Gazette that have just basically said, we just going to be white supremacists and that's it.
Right.
And so we gotta approach these things differently, and it's gonna take all of us to come together in the community. So the last thing I'll say is, maybe let's have these next 2 weeks that if we have, some disagreements with folks, you know what I'm saying? Let's begin to mend these fences, you know what I'm saying? I was part of a mediation session with our sister Shannon. And it was very productive and fruitful. So let's take this time, man. Let's come together, y'all. If we have some beefs, let's call that people, talk to these people. Let's work it out because we got a lot that we have to deal with in the community. And we got to come together to do that and work together to do that. So that's all I would say. Let's hold one another up in this hour, man. And, definitely hug and kiss your loved ones,
I just wanted to add that it was Black Lives Matter Southwestern PA and Stop the Station that were involved in this, and I just wanted to acknowledge them.
Yes. Shout out to them and the great work that they've been doing, all year, and particularly Stop the Station around the budget. That's something that we didn't talk about, but that budget conversation is going, and I know Stop the Station has been, a very, strong voice, keeping us updated about what's happening on the budget. And just appreciate the work that y'all put in, because we know that's a difficult work. Man, our sister Tanisha, we appreciate you as well.
All right, so let me give a little. Say that you get me sentimental. Think about closing. Say, brother, I appreciate you, for getting this platform up and making this space available. Happy to be on and happy to think about what this looks like in the future. I appreciated working with Dr. Hall-Russell all year. Fawn, it was just your third time jumping on here with us. The work that you're doing in the Mon Valley, and I think for UrbanKind moving into next year, we've tweaked our mission statement and got some just a new vision, and our vision. It's not the way it's articulated on paper, but the idea that the Black community. Now, look, I'm from Beltsuva, proud of that. I worked in Clareton, I worked in McKeesport, proud of that. Love those families out there. And be proud of where you're from. But we need to be thinking about what's that Black community look like. That's my sister in McKeesport. That's my brother in the East neighborhoods. The folks in what's that like? Let's create that vision and let's think about what our vision is without the baggage of this is the way it's always been done, because this is those structures of white supremacy that we've been able to tweak this out of have got us. Let's be bold. What does it look like? What are we trying to do? How do we get there? And we're smart enough to figure that part out. But let's establish that Black vision for our region, and let's start working on that. And let's say any of these little petty things that are in between that, let's squash that. There's a bigger ideal that we need to be building on. And hey, we got a space here. We can reach folks. Let's maximize that. Let's talk about that. How can we support you in McKeesport? How can we support you in Duquesne? What's that look like in Braddock? Let's get it in. Let's do it.
Yeah, we got and please get some help too, Fawn. I know Liv and I know Soleil. Y'all need more. We need more folks to help, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But also shout out to Dr. Russell, who I did not know before this year. I mean, I knew of her, but I had never worked with Dr. Russell. I didn't know how brilliant she was. I didn't know. Every time we go into something different, Dr. Russell's like, "Oh, I got a background in that." And I did this. Everything we touch, you got a background. I mean, this is brilliant. Just been such a pleasure to work with. Has really been the force behind the show. What Black Pittsburgh needs to know, the real force behind it. And if you've been on the show, it's really Dr. Cheryl Hall-Russell. And,
right.
She's, we're looking at, she said, because I'm old. We're looking at expanding it, in 2021. Looking at expanding this platform. And so, if folks have any ideas for some shows, have any ideas for some extra media, hit us up, because we definitely want to expand this platform and include, not just Black Pittsburgh, but if you say Pittsburgh, Fawn gonna let you know it's some places where Black people live.
Yes,
beyond Pittsburgh. She gonna make sure you don't forget about the Mon Valley. And so what does that look like? And so definitely holler at us. We ready to build with y'all, and definitely appreciate Gary, John, our production team, that when they've come on, man, it really improved us a lot, man. And so we appreciate the fact that we got two brilliant Black men that are producing the show behind, putting a lot of work. So also want to thank them, and Miracle, because Miracle's also put a lot of work in to the show. So thank you, Miracle, for coming in and co-hosting as well, and all the work that you do behind the scenes to make the show the reality. Appreciate you as well. I think that's it. We got anybody else? You know what? There's one person we got to thank, because Karen put us all together. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
Karen doesn't like to take credit, but you know, Karen Abrams put us all together initially, and it was really like we kind of ran from there. But it would not have happened if Karen hadn't made those initial phone calls. And so, you know, I know Karen, you don't like the spotlight, but man, another phenomenal Black woman that is doing, you know, you might not see her behind the scenes. She's doing so much work to help organizations, Black organizations, thrive in this time. So thank you, Karen, as well.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Her thing is being able to read people. You know what? Y'all need to work together. I'm sure some good stuff going to happen if y'all just talk. And that's her style, and that works. And that's it. You know, we got you know, just on the other side, behind the scenes, the way we've been analyzing this to produce some, like, how does this work? Janelle Young, you know, she's been on here once. Neil Brown,
Absolutely,
behind the scenes, helping us understand how does this work? What are we doing? You know, what kind of messages resonate? You know, Dr. Bey, it's okay if you swear sometime. You know, that they validated that. You know, bring your passion. Because I was like, well, can I say shit? You know, I was like, no, don't say it like that. Like, say it the way you usually say it. Shit. Ain't that some bullshit? But anyway, you know, that's just me being silly. But we got a strong team that I said I'm excited about the folks that we're working with. Let's take this momentum and do something. Let's roll out of here on time now.
Absolutely. So thank you all. We'll see y'all next year in January. Have a safe holiday, a healthy holiday, and you know, let's go into 2021 even more committed to the struggle as we were before. Peace, y'all.
Peace. Love y'all. So anybody cancel the button? We still live.
Oh, there we are. Oh, yeah, we got it.